If you're ready to stop building someone else's dream and start creating your own, join our free community, the Self-Directed Network, at acesmanagementinc.com/school. It's where people leaving their W-2s come together to build freedom, purpose, and momentum toward what's next. Welcome to Life After W-2. I'm your host, John Chan. After 17 years in corporate America, I made the leap to build my own business. It was messier than I thought it would be, but also full of valuable lessons I didn't know I needed. This show is about sharing shifts in mindset, pivots in strategy, and personal changes that come with pursuing financial freedom. You're not alone in this. We're all figuring it out, one step at a time. Welcome to Life After W-2. If you caught part one, you know that Aloysius Carl and I talked about his journey from corporate life to entrepreneurship and the mindset shifts that came with it. This time, Al turns the tables and starts interviewing me, diving into my own path, lessons from business, and what drives the work I'm doing today. Let's jump back in. Start doing that because it's one of these things where you hear people saying that you should do it, but to sit down and take the time to actually do it, it's one of those things that I don't think a lot of people are willing to do. But yeah, I've heard it's like really.
Okay. So John, look, you're doing this great thing of this podcast, getting out and sharing some insightful insights and business knowledge. I've listened to your podcast. I've gotten a kick out of a number of them, right? And so it's pretty powerful if people stop, listen, and take it in. Why did you start this? What was the personal reasoning behind the journey?
Well, I grew up throughout my entire life of thinking that the best way to take care of the family and take care of yourself is go out, get a stable career, get a stable job, make good money for a company, and then I guess retire on your own terms. But come to realize that I was never a good employee. That's not really what I wanted to do. I always wanted to go off and do something on my own. I guess maybe it's being an only child, maybe it's being arrogant. I don't know, but I just wanted to have control over my life. And then having two young children and a wife that I enjoy spending time with made me realize that I don't really want to spend all of my time making someone else rich. I'd much rather spend that time, work really hard, make my family rich, than get to a point where if I want to work, great. And if I don't, I can just kind of hang out with my family. And so by going through that, there's a lot of really, really tough lessons I've had to learn, things that I've had to change professionally and personally, changing who I am as a person and changing my relationship with my wife, my kids, my parents, my relationship with money and all these different things. And so learned a lot. And these are just things that I didn't know that you had to do when starting your own business. So my goal really was to help people hear other people's stories, have gone through it, people that want to go off on their own, and hopefully something from someone else's story would inspire them or help them, help something in their minds click. So that's really the goal of this podcast.
So you're giving back.
Doing my best, but it's one of those things where you have like, no matter where you are in life, I'm understanding is you have this imposter syndrome. Like I haven't really done a ton but I've also had someone else say that you don't have to be 1,000 steps ahead. You just need to be one step ahead and then share that story with someone who would want to be in your spot.
It's interesting. It's interesting perspective. I like it. So, but you're still playing it forward. You're getting visibility out of this, but you're giving back, right? It's got to be pretty rewarding, right?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where like when you tell me you've listened to it, I'm always of the opinion that I don't really have an audience. I don't know who is actually listening, who's actually paying attention. I just see the stats and the analytics on all the different platforms. One person listened for 5 minutes. Like, all right, I'll take it. So it is really rewarding when someone says, like, I listened to it. It really helped me through it. This process, and yeah, it definitely is rewarding.
So I think I would like to hear more of you in the story sometimes. I will give you this as feedback. I'd like to hear you in the stories more. I think you cut yourself out a little bit too much. I think you have some valuable things to share, right? And I'd like to hear them in your future podcast, just so you know, right? So,
yeah, I appreciate that.
I think your perspective is a lot more valuable than what you believe.
Well, thank you for saying that.
You're welcome. Well, I mean, just in our conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, because I'll tell you a few things I picked up. You're an avid reader and you pay attention to what you read and you actually apply it, right? So that's going to be my next question. What's one of the simplest things that you've learned from this that's made a big difference?
From the book or just the podcast?
Yeah, from the books you've read. We'll get to the podcast next.
Okay. I would say it's not like a well-known book, I don't think, but it's This is
Mm.
a book called Chop Wood, Carry Water. And the reason why I like that book is because it's about this individual, and I don't know if it's made up or it's a true story, whatever it is, but this individual goes off to Japan to become an expert samurai archer, which I mean, I didn't know existed, but one of the most powerful parts of the story is he spends all this time working and practicing and going through all the different lessons, the mental mind, the mindset issues he's had to come over. And he goes to his first competition and doesn't do well at all. Doesn't medal, does is not successful, and he comes back disappointed, and his teacher is like, what's going on? And he basically says like, I spent all this time and effort into doing this, and I didn't come back with any kind of reward. And the teacher basically says, well, how long do you think people have how long do you think it takes people to get to become a master? And we often just focus solely on this goal, this end goal of winning this competition, that we forget that it's not about the end goal. It's about our journey to get to that point where we do get to achieve what it is that we want to achieve. And so because of that, I was pretty unhappy, very unhappy in my previous life as a consulting partner, which I feel like if I had told myself 10 years ago, I'd be unhappy as a partner in a company, like you're just absolutely insane. But it really put into perspective that it's not so much about being financially free and building the sustainable business. It's really about all the skills and changes that you make to become more patient with your children, patient with your wife, just having more gratitude towards everything that you have in your life is way more important than the actual destination.
That's a great story. It's also a great journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. It is.
seriously. So, it's like about becoming whole with yourself, right? So
Yeah.
I would say you could say it was before you were playing by others' rules and expectations, and now you're
Yeah.
playing by yours. That's powerful
Yeah.
stuff.
It is. Yeah. Comparing yourself
Some
to
people,
yourself 6 months ago is a game changer.
yeah, but do you do that regularly?
Yeah, because sometimes I just got to feel like, well, I haven't really done anything. Well, then would the you 6 months ago be proud of you today?
That's a great question, man. So
Mm.
let's go back to the podcast. You've done how many of these interviews so far? I lost count. I tried totaling them up,
Yeah.
but
Probably about upper 80s. I have some in the can that I haven't posted
wow.
yet, but upper 80s, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I got, it's a two-parter. One, what
Mhm.
are the common themes from talking to all these people that have left and went off and started on their own? And then two, what's the biggest thing that surprised you? So two-parter question based on those interviews.
First part of that question, I mean, a lot of things. Personal development, super important. It is not easy. No matter how often you see people make that transition and they say it was, no matter how smooth people make it look like, it's never that smooth. There's always things that we have to get over. I mean, mindset issues. For me, the biggest thing was my relationship with money. You know, there's always some type of transformation that you have to go over, and it never is as quick or as easy as you think it's going to be. And there's always
Mm.
something that's going to throw, it's always chaos. It's just always chaos for sure. But yeah, like talking to people and networking is a huge thing that has been a recurring theme. My first guest in this new format, her name's Ashley. Ready is not a feeling, it's a decision. You're never going to feel ready. You just got to make the decision and then live with the fact that it's going to be a challenge. And yeah, it's long hours. I think I saw this quote. You give up your 9 to 5 to work 24/7, and unfortunately, that's what it's like.
What was the biggest thing that you've heard or learned that has surprised you?
I mean, the thing is, I used to think that people make that transition and some of them make it really smoothly, but I don't think I've seen anybody make it smoothly. There's always chaos and messiness involved, whether that's financially or, changing who you are. Like you go through these periods of loneliness where the people that you are with and that you've grown up with, no matter how amazing they are, they're not going to understand what it is that you're going through because you're just taking a different path. And so you're kind of forced to make new friends who are doing what is it you want to do. It doesn't mean that the people that and I'm just talking about this in like personal experience. Like it doesn't mean that the people that I grew up with who are all like amazing people, it doesn't mean that they don't have a place for you or you don't have a place for them. It's just life takes you in a different direction, and you can still appreciate the friendships that you have, but it also requires that you surround yourself with people that are doing what it is that you want to do.
What's important to have a support network that understands what you're going through, right? And I would say
Yeah.
nobody believes what you're going through except someone who's done it already or is doing it with you, right?
Yeah, there's this quote that said like no one who's started a business is ever going to give you crap for starting a business. No one who has ever done what it is that you want to do will ever tell you or make fun of you for chasing what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Right. Are you the first person in your family that's had their own business? I mean,
Yeah, like my parents didn't really understand it. And then I think like 7 months ago, my mom said, I never imagined that my child would be an entrepreneur. And up until that point, I had never identified as an entrepreneur, I guess. And never
really?
really understood what it was. Yeah, I never understood what it was because to me, I didn't care what the label was. I just wanted to do it. But now I'm kind of embracing that label.
So how long you been on this journey?
So I started this journey uh, I think September of 2020. And that's when I just started like, my wife said, in order to get into real estate, I heard that you have to eat, sleep, and breathe it. September is when I started listening to all the books, the podcasts, YouTube videos. And so, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say this is my first go at it. Like, I tried doing tax accounting on the side. I tried doing a construction company on the side, but this is my first go at, like, my first time being serious at it, I would say.
So that on the side is an interesting comment, part of your comments, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
On
have
the
this
side.
theory. People think, let's say 100% get you to success. Let's say 100% get you 10,000 in sales, right? Just
Hmm.
as an example. They think if you dial it back by 20% and do 80%, you'll get 8,000 in sales. You know what I think it is? I think it's
What's that?
2,000. That
Yeah.
20% reduction takes away 80% of the results. It's really kind of wild how that shit works. That's why that kind of in, kind of out thing doesn't seem to flesh out. It's really wild.
Yeah, it's one of those things where in order to build momentum, like it just takes a ton of work in the beginning because you're building your funnel. I look at it like a sales funnel, right? You're building your funnel. You're throwing as much in it as possible. You're planting as many seeds as possible. If you're only planting 10 seeds at a time, your results are going to be way less than if you're planting 1,000 seeds at a time.
So you're an accountant and a consultant. Call that critical mass. Let's call it
Hmm.
business success critical math, and what's the formula? I'm dead serious. I think that's right, but I think it's
Hmm.
critical mass. I don't look at it like it's just a funnel of prospects. Critical mass includes knowledge, expertise, comfort,
Yeah. Hmm.
positioning, messaging, branding. I think that all kind of goes into that, and I think that's something you just hit on with that I think would be interesting if we explored that a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that I've had to shiny object syndrome, something that I've had to deal with, and everybody has to deal with. But I mean, one of the biggest things is I'm not sure if you're familiar with like wholesaling in real estate versus like lending in real estate. So if I did wholesaling and I was spending all the time cold calling and prospecting and all that, and then I want to go into lending, it's not starting from zero, but you're having to rebuild all the things that you've built up. But if you just focus on one thing, even if it takes you 8 months, you're going to accomplish way more in those 8 months than if you do 1 month in wholesaling, 1 month in burn investing, and 1 month in flipping. And that's one of the things, like one of the things I wish I'd realized earlier in this whole thing.
You have you done any reading about this multitasking facade and how long it takes someone to get really focused?
Yeah,
28.
and one of these, yeah, it's crazy because it's one of these things where if you count to 100, or I think the example is if you count to 100, you can get there pretty quickly. If you just do the alphabet, you can get there pretty quickly. But if you go A, B, C, and you try to do that, it just takes exponentially longer.
But I think that explains the focus and the concentration. So
Mhm.
I think focus
Yeah.
is a key business skill, and it's like picking the right focus versus not. So, John, what's your right focus?
My right focus is building a lending business because it so I've done land flipping, I've done wholesaling, I've done fix and flip, I've done a burn vest where it's just fixing and holding. And you know, I did all those great. Don't know how many of them I did well, but lending, like I understand because it's all numbers, it's all value and numbers, and to me it just makes sense. And so to me, the lending business, that is my lane, that is my focus, and it's where I'm happiest right now.
You're finding success there.
I am finding success. Again, it's not as quick
It
as I
almost
had
killed
hoped.
you. It almost killed you to say you were finding success. I want to point that out.
Yeah, that is another another one of those things, right? Because it goes back to your comment earlier in our earlier conversation where we're never happy with where we're at, but yet you should celebrate the small wins.
Absolutely, you should. So, John, you're not making what you're making, but if you're doing better and building, it's a win.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And in this new model that I have in the lending business, we had our first profitable month 3 months ago, and
Oh,
so
congrats.
celebrated. Yeah, thank you. So celebrated, amazing, happy. But we have higher goals that we want to hit. But again, happy for the successes up until now.
In the black. So John, I
Yeah.
didn't talk about it during our interview, but like with that first consulting business, we were in business for like 5 years, and then we hit a really bad patch. We were losing 50,000 a month, 3 months in a row.
Jeez.
30 something employees. And what happened was my one business partner and the guy he had running the internal things, I don't know what the hell they did, and they side railed. But
Mm,
I'm like, you talk about freaking out, right?
yeah.
And then I had to get involved and do a bunch of cutthroat stuff to turn the business around. But it's sort of like when you say chaos, I'm like, yeah, you always think you got it and you're leveled up, right? And it's going to be
Yeah.
smooth. And damn it,
Yeah.
there. I mean, you never take your eye off the horizon.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where you think that it's going to be smooth sailing, but it's never gonna be like that. Whatever problems you have, it's always gonna be a bigger problem and a bigger problem. But then that's how you know that you're growing because your problems are
Right.
never the same.
So I had a former VP that loved to use sailing as an analogy for business, and I think it plays extremely well, right? You never get from point A to point B in a straight line in sailing. Never, right? You don't always have the wind at your back. Sometimes you have to cross draft, right? Sometimes you have
Mhm,
no wind, which is the worst. That's when you learn, like, sometimes chaos is better than nothing when it's dead water, right? So it's
mhm.
all these great analogies and it all plays, but it's true. Business is a ride. It's a roller coaster or sailing adventure, whatever analogy you want to use. But when you're the captain, you control your destiny to a great
Yeah.
extent, right? And I think that's why a lot of us are attracted to it because being at somebody else's mercy when you're not willing to give that up is never fun. And I think that's why you weren't happy when you were a partner in the business. You still weren't driving the ship.
Yeah, and it was tough because it was made good money, stable, but
Yep.
it wasn't what I wanted. And we tend to learn the most during chaotic times too.
I was making really good money at P&G right before I retired, but I tell you, and I could have stayed there, but I think I would have tried or wanted to kill my senior VP that I was working for at the end. He just came in and just started cutting everything. And I told him when I left, I go, "Do you want to know one of the reasons why I left, why I was upset?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You just came in and said, well, I don't want to do that. You never asked me why are we doing it in the first place. You had no idea what the purpose of that was, and you cut it out." I go, I had a purpose for every damn thing I was doing. He never asked me what they were. He just looked at me. I go, "You understand how that could feel from my side?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's the best I could get out of him." How can you work for someone who won't ask you why you're doing something and yet just kills it?
It's a way to just make sure that your team feels unappreciated.
Yes, but you're. So let me ask you this: do you have anybody that works for you?
I do. She's a VA from the Philippines. She's leaving me in 16 days. She's been with me for years, and unfortunately, she's leaving me. She says for
Sorry.
health reasons. Yeah, but I always wanted to make sure that she was always part of the decision making process, even when we were changing directions. Like one of the things was her compensation. Do you want to be hourly or do you want to have a lower hourly rate and then get commissions based on different deals? And I just let her have that power to decide, what fits best for her. So I mean, everyone's just
That
a
was really
person.
brave and courageous, John. That really is
Yeah.
impressive. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think your employees would love you if you got that kind of attitude and you work with them in a part. That's a true partnership, man. That's great. So, are
Yeah.
you
I
going to
mean,
replace her?
I don't know yet because there's so many different AI tools that I can use. One of the biggest things that I want to use is like Lindy because a lot of
Mhm.
processes I think we can automate. So and it's going to be hard to replace her. She's been an amazing addition just for me and all the
Yep.
different she never complained about anything that I gave her. And I even asked, do you like doing what you're doing or do you prefer to do something else? Like at one point I had her underwriting properties and she said, I don't feel comfortable doing this. It's like, no problem, then let's get you to do something else. So it's gonna be hard to replace
Wow.
her. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, sounds like you'd be a great boss.
I hope so.
No, I mean, you consider the other person, you're open and inviting feedback, and you're taking in, how that sets you up way over here, right? And that's to the
Yeah.
good side, right?
Okay. Thank you. Thank
No,
you for saying
I'm
that.
dead serious. I've managed a lot of people. I've worked for a lot of people, right? I'm telling you,
Mhm.
it puts you way over here. So that's good.
And that
I'm impressed.
that's good to know. Thank you. Uh,
So,
so I have a
so
question
John,
for you.
what's that? Good.
Yeah. So whenever I get compliments, I start getting nervous and sweating. Like, well, how do you get over that?
Okay. Well, first of all, here's the thing, John. You're really good and you're really smart. You're well
Thank you.
spoken. You're considerate. I could pick that up just in a 5-minute conversation with you before we even got deep into this, right?
Mm,
So, unfortunately, though, because we're taught to be humble, we're not taught how to take compliments. And this is the problem. So, you have to deprogram yourself a little bit. You have to explain to yourself that you're worthy of compliments because you work hard and you try to do good in the world. And this is my first step in trying to get you comfortable with that. That is the key. And I want to tell you this, you're not the only one, but I will tell you it's an age thing. Those of people who are under 26 years of age do not have that problem. They all think they ought to be complimented for everything. I don't know if you've noticed this. I'm telling you, it's a generational thing, right?
mhm.
But a certain age, you're uncomfortable with, and that's why. You're taught to be humble. You're not everything. People say you're not God's gift, right? All these things we've had drilled into our head. That doesn't mean we're not worth complimenting, you know?
Mm.
Each
Yeah.
one of us, if we are a good citizen or strive to be a good citizen, we're worth being complimented, and we, deserve the recognition. So I'm going to allow you to feel good about yourself, and you need to allow yourself the same thing.
Thank you.
And I mean, this is one of those self-talks you have to have with yourself. I'm not kidding. And I tell you, I'm telling you, your podcasts are pretty cool. I
Thank
think
you.
you're doing a service sharing stuff with people. I think more people who are looking to start a business should listen to it. Because the thing is if you can show them there's chaos, you're preparing them. Because a lot of them, oh, running a business is great. And people act like anybody can do it. There's a reason why a lot of people go out of business, right? It's not easy.
Yeah.
And anybody who brings some reality that I think is helping people out if you get them to listen to it. So I think you're doing a good service. Now, how are
Okay.
you leveraging the podcast to help you out in your business? That's my next question for you.
Yeah, so for me, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, my mom wanted to retire, and at that point, I was already done being a landlord. I wanted to turn her retirement into cash flow. It was one of the things I always worried about because no one ever taught her how to save for retirement, and so I wanted to find out exactly what she had in the bank, like just finance wise, and how I could best maximize that. And my thought was always, well, if you put your money in the stock market, you're always chipping away at your principal. So I just looked for a different way, and I wanted to use real estate as the mechanism because I understood it better than I understood stocks, and I knew the stocks are manipulated. It can be manipulated pretty easily. So I found out about self-directed retirement accounts and I turned her into a lender. I had always heard that
Sure.
banks always make the most money. And so I turned her into a bank and I focused on short-term lending opportunities on properties that are have 80% LTV or less, right? And now focus just on one market because of the headaches I'm having to deal with. But yeah, I just want to turn her money to cash flow and just say, all right, well, if you want to spend X number of dollars every single month, if you just leave your principal there and then you're just only spending the interest, then you're going to be in a good spot for at least a really long time. And so that's what I did. And because of that, I turned my wife's old retirement account into a self directed and I put into real estate opportunities. Same thing for myself and for my dad and friends that I grew up with, the friends that I talked about. Amazing people, right? So just trying to find ways to help them do something other than put their money in the stock market. And so because of that, I had sent so many referrals to this one company that they said, well, why don't you just help us? Why don't you be the one to open it? Be a white label partner with us and you can have that relationship, that customer service that you prefer to keep, and then just we'll do it for you. So with people that are wanting to leave their W-2s, they're most likely going to have old retirement accounts. So my goal is to say, like, you don't have to leave it in the stock market if you don't want to, or you can leave some of it in and just diversify by using a self-directed retirement account. And so that goal is to use the podcast to funnel people toward my community, which is really education about self-directed retirement accounts, all the risks that I didn't know, all the different compliance issues that I didn't know when opening it, and the different types. And so from there, if they want to open it with me, great. And if they want to open it with someone else, that's fine. But at least they have the knowledge and the understanding of what to look for when evaluating a custodian and which route they want to go, whether it's a solo 401k or self-directed IRA.
So I would have liked for you to have put one of those questions into the conversation then. A little
Yeah,
self-serving,
that
but I would have liked you if you put that in there, right?
yeah, I don't know how to do that because again, it's one of these things where I didn't have a sales background. And so for me to like kind of throw it in
Let's
there,
talk about it. Let's talk about it.
yeah.
Let's role play it. So John,
Okay.
you went off, you broke away. How were
Hmm.
you thinking about retirement when you were breaking away, and how do you think about it now? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all concerned about that, right?
Yeah. That's a good question.
And then you get into the conversation because
Hmm.
this is gonna sound maybe ignorant, right? Because I'm gonna feed back what you just told to me in a simpler way.
Hmm.
So it sounds to me like what you're doing is you're using real estate investment to almost annuitize a good chunk of a retirement account, but still protect the interest because you get the interest from the lending off of it like an annuity, but you keep your principal. So it
Yep.
seems like it's got better value than an annuity would have, but it has a lot of the benefits of an annuity. See, I could have
Yeah.
stood to
And
talk to you about 20 years ago. Right? No, seriously, I'm sitting here looking and I'm like, okay, I get it. I see this, right?
yeah.
It
Hmm.
does make some good rational sense. I have the best annuity I could find at the time. It's a variable annuity, and the return on it is guaranteed 5% a year or whatever my market investments do inside the annuity, whichever's better. And
Right.
it locks that in every year at January 18th until I start taking money out of it, right? My 4%, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I went with rather than a standard annuity, right? And that's been building for 20 years.
Got it.
I like what you said to me. I think that makes some really good, rational, logical sense. And you're using real estate, which we all know, even in the worst of times, while it can go down, it usually doesn't go down significantly and it always comes back, at least historically. I mean,
Right.
so I've done this look even through the Great Depression, John, with AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like that story you just told. That's it's pretty cool. I think it would resonate, and I think you should say, one of the things I talk to people, they always like to have a certain amount of income. Well, there's a way of securing that and not risk it all in the stock market and have a more stable base. And that's what you provide, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And we do it at a pretty high rate, anywhere between 9 and 12% return.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah. yeah.
Wow. Is that now? What kind of properties are you lending on? Is that commercial?
It's all residential and it's all on 6-month terms. And the
Six
reason
months.
why,
6 month flip.
yeah, 6-month flip. Yeah. But it's still annualized. It was 9% to 12% annualized. But I mean, the reason why I partner with a guy who does this in Atlanta, and he flips 12 to
Uh-huh.
15 houses a month, but he also does lending. And so the security is that if one of his borrowers were to default, then he'll just buy out the lending partner and then take it on and add it to the 12 to 15 he's already flipping a month.
Trouble of it is how much money can he handle?
Right now we have about 35 million out in loans.
No, no shit.
Yeah, and
Dude,
then
at
he uses
8%, that is at even 8%, that's sweet.
yeah, and the security, like, there's nothing more secure than that. Like, my goal is to be able to provide the same service. I don't like flipping houses, but I want to flip houses just so I have a way to protect my lending partners when I go off on my own.
Interesting. That's interesting. That's a
Yeah,
really unique, interesting business.
yeah, yeah,
That's an
and
interesting model, dude. I don't like being the flipper. I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest on your point. I wouldn't want to be the flip. I think what I'd want to get some real substantial flippers and say, hey, look, you have problems getting money. You want a better deal, and you can work with the banks and more readily accessible cash. I think you
yeah,
might become an attractive offer for them. But I mean, I'd be concerned about those guys because some of those guys are like, interesting.
yeah. So
What's an interesting
that's
business
why
model?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's all asset based. We don't care who's
Yeah.
borrowing because we just know that it takes $3,000 to foreclose. It can be done in a month, and then
Well, do you have title insurance on the property to make sure it's a clean title?
yeah, if you have a title insurance policy, the lending
All right.
partners have the lien. They're listed as a lost payee on the homeowner's
Okay.
insurance, so all the good stuff. Yeah,
Wow. Wow. I can't believe you can kick off that kind of interest rate off of that kind of deal.
yeah, it's pretty standard,
So
I think, in real estate. Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Really? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. It's interesting. Okay, so see, yeah, no, you need to expose that. You
yeah.
need to
I just
find a
don't
way
know
of
how
working
to.
that in there, man.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
good
you could
idea.
you could just say, look, any people who start their own business are looking to secure their families. And I mean, that's how you get the conversation. And then you could
Yeah,
just have a little blurb. But by the way, we do this. If you're interested, call me. You don't have to make it too salesy. Just bring it
yeah,
up. You get everybody's
mhm,
different approach and you put what you do in there and you're done. It won't
yeah.
be, I don't think it'll be too over the top.
Okay. Yeah, I'll
So if you
try
want
that
to,
with.
you can ask me that question and you can use my podcast to be the first one. And then you can tell me what you do and I can say how cool that is, just like what we just did.
Okay, very cool. Yeah.
Why don't you ask me the question?
All right. So when you're going off on your own, retirement is one of those big things where you have company match, right? There's always that security of having a retirement account. How do you envision securing your family's finances when you are actually at the retirement age?
So, John, that's a great question. So, the first time I left corporate America, I was just starting, and to us though, it was really important. So, we actually went and created our own 401k and set up this traditional way with stocks, and then we did um, a self-directed thing that actually kind of got us into trouble one year because we overcooked it, right?
Uh-huh.
But so and then we did profit sharing inside that to share it with our employees. So it was a standard stock market thing. And of course, we all know about some of the issues with that, right? So I lived through 2005 and 2008. By the way, one of those years, the way I was invested, not with my retirement account, a lot of my retirement, but some, I was heavy in the stock, in tech stock. I lost like
Right.
40% of my net worth, right? I mean, it rocked me and rocked my wife. And I think that's one of the reasons why she was so risk tolerant that I was talking about earlier, right?
Right.
And so I think it's important. We all start our own business. We all want to ensure our retirement and our family's income. And so I think it's important to pay attention to that and look at that. I guess I did the best that I could based upon what I knew, and I'm fairly well read. One thing I was light in and am still light in is real estate because I like flexibility. I have a personal flaw for flexibility. That's why I love the stock market. But that comes
Yeah.
with a price, right? And some people would say, even today, I'm probably too risky on my investments for my age. But where do you go to get a more stable return, but not give it away and let the bank make money off of your retirement account while your dollar depreciates, right? So do the best I can with what I know.
Yeah, that's some of the things. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I had trouble with as well. And it wasn't until I looked into self-directed retirement accounts where I realized that there's an alternative. And one of the biggest things was cost. I wanted to look at my parents' plan documents to see how much they're getting charged in fees. Because I think it was Tony Robbins' Master the Money Game book that mentions like mutual funds and how they're evaluated and how they can have
Yep.
100 funds in one, and only one of them has to perform well to be considered 5 star. The other 99 can just be, oh, 1 star can perform poorly, but they still get that 5 star rating. And so when it came time for my mom to retire, I had lost trust in regular securities and the stock markets. I looked for a different way and turned her into the bank by just having her lend on real estate
Oh,
opportunities. Yeah, so she would just have a loan and the collateral would be real estate, and then she would collect 8 to 12% on a monthly basis, annualized, of course, on real estate loans, and that way she could spend her principal, she could spend her the interest earned, but never touch her principal.
right. That sounds a lot better than the annuity I've got too, right? So because again, interest rates and the banks and the insurance companies, they're taking their big cut. That sounds pretty attractive.
Yeah.
So you're invested in real estate, you hold the paper, the real
Hmm.
estate's the asset, so it's not going to go anywhere and you're making money off the interest. That sounds really attractive,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. After being a landlord for, I don't know, like 8 years, something like that. It's time. I definitely enjoy holding paper more than actually owning the property.
And I'm assuming that's what you do now for your clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now what we do is we just get them into real estate lending opportunities because it's just easy to evaluate with you have a single family home, nothing crazy. We know exactly how much it's worth and we just lend up to a certain amount and it just protects. It's a super safe, in my opinion, super safe opportunity where you're backed by an asset you can actually touch and value.
Right. Again, unlike stocks, flexible and all over the place. I get it. Yeah, I coulda
Yeah.
used talking to you 20 years ago.
We can still talk now.
We just might do that, right? My wife, I have to clear things with my wife, but no, that sounds very interesting. I've never considered that before.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so now, all right, you work that in however you want. If you don't want to, it's okay. But I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I think it plays. And
Yeah.
people who start in their own business, they need to be thinking about retirement, right? So
Right.
you need to be thinking about your nest egg. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's absolutely the best way, but it's down the road that way, I think. And I think you got to get your stuff in there somewhere.
Yeah, that was
I
a
don't,
ta
yeah, because I'm looking at your podcast. Do you list it on there, like what you do on stuff on your podcast description?
I
John Chan,
think
creative retirement investments. Do you have something like that on there? I don't remember seeing that, John.
I don't think I have that in there. I
Oh,
really need yeah, I'm going to. I'm gonna make a
yeah,
change.
I'm not saying exactly what. I think you got to find some way of leveraging this a little bit, right?
Yeah, it was the way that I'm leveraging it is just way too indirect. I want to have it more direct and just say, "This is what
Yeah,
I do."
all right. I don't wade in everybody's business, but again, if I see something I can help, I try to offer my suggestion. So sorry,
Yeah.
but hey,
No,
I've
no,
enjoyed
I
our
really appreciate
conversation,
it.
sir.
Yeah, me too. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. So I listen to your podcast. I would like to hear more of you in some of the conversations. I think you cut yourself out too much. That's my one feedback.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out as well, as how to I
Yeah.
think I did it with Angela. I was able to talk a little bit more, but I gotta find a way yeah, I'm gonna find a way to do that.
But yeah, no, they're good. I think there's good content in there. I just don't want to make it seem so glamorous. People have to understand what they're jumping into, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. John, it's been a pleasure. Hey, do me a favor, shoot me a
Mhm.
thing when this podcast is going to go live.
Okay,
I'll definitely promote it on my LinkedIn
okay.
and on my Substack and some other stuff I got going on, right? And I'll have my
Yeah.
friends listen to it. So we'll see what we can do about driving up your viewership too.
I appreciate that so much. It was so great talking to you, and, yeah, I hope I can help drive some business for you as well.
Well, I'm really in the give back phase as much as
Right.
anything. So if I don't make a ton of money, I'm not losing sleep.
Yeah,
Seriously, I drive my wife crazy when I tell her this. I go, but this is what I want to do.
right.
I'm like, and so I'm mentoring a startup in St. Louis. She's not paying me any money. I'm just trying to keep her sane as she goes through this process, right? And
Yeah,
so, yeah, and so I'm just like, yeah, I'm happy to do it. It's just something I feel very impassioned about, and I feel that anytime you can give back, it's a good thing. So, good luck to you, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Take care. That's it for today's episode of Life After W2. I'm John Chan, and I appreciate you tuning in. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who's ready to take control of their financial future. And if you're curious about how self-directed retirement accounts can unlock opportunities in alternative investing, grab our free guide. It's packed with insights to help you get started. The link's in the description. See you next time.